What's up, everybody? Good evening. This is Gina Ifoe, the one and only African superstar, back at it again. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel, and shout outs to all the new subscribers. Like, our subscribers are going up every day. That's excellent, whether you're here for the unpopular opinions, the vlogs, the live streams, or the music. You are most welcome to my channel. I want to also give a special shout out to all the customers at AfricanSuperstar.com. Like I did share on my last live stream, all the orders that were placed around February 6th and 7th. Some of you guys, I believe, they're Valentine's Day gifts. Everything has been shipped out. So please check your email for your shipping confirmation. Everything, all those recent orders have gone out. Big shout outs also to everyone, all the members only who are designated next to the circle next to their name, and everyone supporting our music project. Yes. Today I want to talk about this topic. It's actually motivated by a culmination of things, so I really want to get into this. When you come into the room, please, you should know the code. If you don't know the code of the African Superstar, you come into the room, you greet, you leave a message in the chat room, and you like the video. And you can also support the stream and contribute your opinions. And if we do call in, we haven't done a call in a long time, but perhaps one day in the near future. Today, I want to talk about people perish for a lack of knowledge, especially Black people. Yes. Shout out to the African Superstar family. Now, those of you guys that are religious or grown up in the church or know any of the Bible, you would know that is a popular Bible verse. People perish for a lack of knowledge. And I see that our people, in many ways, we continue to perish due to a lack of knowledge. Some of it is denial, because we see the things in front of us, we see the things around us, we understand what people are experiencing. Some of it is ignorance. Obviously, we are not properly, comprehensively taught for the growth and edification of our own people, wherever you are in the world. Even if you're growing up on the continent or whatever, we are not instilled with the right tools, the right history, the right understanding. Our religion does not empower us, and there are many things that contribute to our ignorance. So there is a possibility that you may be ignorant, and that is contributing to your lack of knowledge. And then there is just the laziness. That is acknowledging and seeing the problem, but instead of addressing the problem, and instead of putting your effort into changing maybe the situation that's creating the problem, that is, oh, the problem's too great, or oh, I can't be effective, or this is how it's always been. Our people are facing like a lot of things that we know are pre-existing. Now, I have a few of you just in the chat room so far. So you guys, I really need you to help, in the chat room with these. I'm gonna give my very first trivia question. Okay. What are some of the problems that perpetually challenge Black people in society? What are some of the problems that are perpetually challenging Black people in society? Go ahead and give me some answers, guys, in the chat room. Shout outs to everybody here. Everybody, what's up? Don't be shy. I need your participation on this topic. First trivia question, everybody. What are some things that have perpetually challenged Black people worldwide? Go ahead and give me your answers in the chat room. I'm going to go ahead and start and talk about racism. It's one of the big elephants in the room. It seems to me that in every non-Black society that we are a part of, we have faced racism. That has been going on for centuries. And there are reasons why racism goes on. Some of it is external stuff. Some of it has to do with, in my opinion, people's understanding of their inferiority and jealousy as well. When you see people that are innately beautiful, innately creative, innately talented, innately athletic. They are fertile people. They are happy people. They are very industrious people. This will create a lot of envy and hate among people that do not have those innate things. And I don't think our people perceive that. Sometimes it's just so blatantly obvious because of all the interactions that we have with non-Black people, how jealous they really are and how intent they are in siphoning our resources, capitalizing on our resources, and or destroying, any connection that we have to our resources or anything that we can benefit or gain. This is an indicator of jealousy, in my opinion. And if a person, for instance, we have a concept that's called, white supremacy, okay? Which is the whole ideology that, white people are the supreme rulers and, they're this and they're that. Well, if they're so supreme, they wouldn't be infatuated with the inferior people, would they? Last I checked, when there are kings and queens on the throne, they're much more occupied with what the kings and queens of the other nations are doing. They're not worried about what the peasants of that country are doing. They might not even be worried with what the peasants in their own countries are doing. They're normally worried about the people that are in their peripheral. Why would superior people be completely infatuated with inferior people? Why would they be upset when those inferior people decide to do for self and say, you know what, hey, we need to create our own communities and create our own resources? And we recently saw this reflected on TikTok. There is a viral hashtag going on TikTok called Black Girl Follow Train. Okay, so essentially there's been several ladies that have contributed to it, but there was a viral, sound on TikTok that said, hey, if you're a Black girl that follows this, follows this trend, I'll follow you back. And a lot of Black girls, simply off the premise that a TikTok user would be Black, they will follow them and the girl would follow them back. And a lot of Black girls' TikTok, numbers went up and so on and so forth. Well, no sooner did the Black girls had decided to do this follow train, then here comes the white girls talking about they're not included. But the irony is they can do things exclusively for their people. They can have schools and communities and everything exclusively for their people. They can market products exclusively to their people. And there's no problem. But the minute when we want to do it, it's all a problem. Black people are perishing for a lack of knowledge. The knowledge that they need to know is that they must do for self. The knowledge that they need to know is that there is no solution outside of self. The information they need to know is that their priority should be their own homeland. If their homeland has some semblance of, stability, that translates into the citizens abroad. There's no way, for instance, like a Saudi, let's say a Saudi comes from Saudi Arabia and goes to England and he's wearing his traditional, white outfit with the ropes on his head. There's no way when he arrives in England that they're going to be disrespecting him in the airport and all of that. The conception will probably be, wow, he's coming from Dubai. He's coming from Saudi Arabia. He's coming from the Middle East. He's probably rich. He might be a businessman. He might be important. The probability of him being mistreated is low because of the perception of where he's coming from. Now, when it comes down to Black people and Africans, because of the situation happening here on the continent, whenever we go into the international community, even if we are rich, even if we are affluent, even if we're educated, the immediate conception is that we are low class. I want to know, how long is it going to take for Black people to understand this? Which is why smart Black people, and shout outs to those of you that are on this journey with me, have begun to put their attention onto the continent, because they realize that it starts with the root cause. Now, let's just say that Ghana, or Kenya or Senegal or Nigeria was one of the premier, nations in the world. let's say they were coming up with, all kind of avant-garde projects. They had, incredible infrastructure. There was all kind of dynamic things happening there, and it's a wealthy country. When Nigerians, for instance, will go into the world, instead of many people looking at them as, oh, this, are they scammers? Are they, this and that? Are they poor? Do they climb on trees and all this kind of stuff? The perception will be different. People are like, wow, you're from Nigeria. Oh my goodness, this and that. It's kind of like for those of us that come from America and we go places and immediately someone hears our accent and they're just like, oh my gosh, you're from America. And it's like, it's a pleasant thing, in some cases. I know when I moved to the UK, the people in the UK, always loved the accent. They always wanted to chat with me. They were always interested. I thought that was very unusual. It was eye-opening for me, like, wow, in America, I'm treated this way, but just across the pond, the perception is different. We are perishing for a lack of knowledge. The concept that integrating into foreign lands, and let me speak to continentals more specifically, the concept that matriculating into foreign lands is going to be a benefit to you is not a logical mentality at all. Because if you actually look at it and you think about it, you are alienating yourself, from your family. And you are also, you are assimilating into another world. And I know for a fact that probably many continentals don't think about it because they grow up in these communal environments and these homogeneous environments. So they've always been surrounded by Black people and Africans. The concept of self-preservation, they're definitely not thinking about it. It's probably nothing that they've even never had a conversation about in most cases. What if Black people are eliminated? So when they go abroad, they get involved in these interracial relationships, and all this stuff, and they think it's fun, they think it's good. They have no idea that these things that are eventually can threaten the existence of your people, and I know obviously some of my viewers partake in these things, but the truth is still the truth. If you're not pro, then you're con. There's really nothing in between. You can't be pro on Monday and Thursday, and then on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, it doesn't work like that. The biggest indicator on how you see the world and your outlook on life is going to be demonstrated by the decisions you make. So, for instance, if the Black community is important to you, then it will be reflected in the way that you move, the things that you say, but most importantly, how you live. And I just realized that a lot of our people are going to be eliminated. They're going to be eliminated because they want to remain ignorant. And even though they've seen a lot of the pitfalls of people in the past, they continue to go down that path. I had quite a long conversation with someone last night, and we talked about many, many things. And one of the things we talked about, obviously, is the religious stronghold here on this continent. And I said to the person who is a Muslim person, I said, we've been patronizing these foreign gods now for quite a long time. We know that these are not the religious views of our ancestors. We know that these religions have come from foreign lands. And even in those foreign lands, we participating in the same religion. For instance, like if a Black African decides he wants to go to the Middle East and he's also Muslim, just like they're Muslim, there's still colorism, there's still racism, there's still classism, even within Islam, right? So a Muslim is not a Muslim. And we know as well, people that participate in the Christian, faith, we know that there's segregation in the Christian faith as well. The reality is, if we look at it logically, and we would actually correlate, because me personally, I correlate being connected to God as being victorious, right? And that's what a lot of what the religions talk about. They talk about you being victorious in life. So for all the time that our people have now been engaging and practicing in these foreign religions, Are we victorious? Have we moved forward as a people? Are we in a better position now than 50 years ago? It's arguable. You know, we are struck, especially those of us in the West. You know, those of us in the West are watching our communities dwindle, you know, Black businesses, Black families, even just the mental well-being of our people, the composure of our people. We're watching that deteriorate. And I can't be convinced that that is positive. In addition to the religious exposure, we also have the education. Everything that we're told is grooming us to be a slave, you know, literally and figuratively. Last night in the conversation, we talked about how, you know, the youth here in Ghana are basically groomed to travel. You know, they grow up without loving their country, without seeing opportunity here, without knowing their history, both local history or history of their ancestors abroad thoroughly. They don't know any of that. They're still learning about Queen Elizabeth and, Pontius Pilate and this kind of stuff, learning like obsolete information and not learning the valid information. And the similar thing is happening to Black people in the West. And yet a lot of us adults, we recognize it and we understand that the education is not comprehensive, but we continue. We continue to put our children into this cycle. And this, my friend, is why we perish. Because until we teach and understand and begin to practice that we need to be self-sufficient, okay, we need to instill that in our kids. We're still promoting our kids, yeah, go to school, get your degree, you know, even though we sitting with our degrees may not be working in our fields, may not be earning good incomes, may not have, you know, the freedom, we hate our jobs and all these things. We promote our kids to go through the same exact cycle. You know, we understand that these campaigns, the homosexual agenda, the interracial agenda, the transgender agenda, the integration and diversity agenda, we understand that this is having a profound effect on our community, those of us from the diaspora. Yet and still, we don't raise our voice and say, no, 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 be one. We don't even want to have the conversation in the privacy of our home with our friends. We don't want to be offensive when it is what it is. And you know what's crazy to me? I always think about, I think about the future generation. So maybe you've managed to kind of bump along and have a decent life. But you don't ever think about the future youth, because I think about that sometimes. I think about, wow, the challenges I've had because I'm an intellectual, Pan-African, pro-Black, and very action-oriented person. Trying to find a compatible partner with that mindset is extremely difficult. Now, if I was an Oreo, I wouldn't have any problems. If I was a homosexual, I wouldn't have any problems. If I was a swirler, I wouldn't have any problems. The fact that I exclusively choose my own people creates the difficulty, and that is a problem. It shouldn't be so difficult to meet other people that have like-minded minds about self-preservation for their own people. And, I know obviously me and some other people will be able to survive because we are smart enough and we are willing to take action when it's necessary. But it's unfortunate because millions and millions and millions and millions of people are contributing to their own downfall and they don't even know it. By participating in things that are not pro what they need to see or want to see, they are complicit in their own destruction. You are complicit in your own destruction if you are refusing to make the right decisions and choose the right path. The other day, obviously right now, these passport bros are so popular, loads of videos coming up. I actually shared a really good video from O'Shea's channel You know, kind of piggybacking off of what I had in my other video in regards to relationships are transactional, and a lot of these people going abroad, you know, they're going to run into the same situations a lot of times because of who they are. But you know what I think about sometimes is, like, for instance, single mothers have this whole image a lot of times that people kind of project onto them. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not true. And I think to myself, I'm like, for instance, probably these passport bros, a lot of them, they may have children that they neglect and don't raise in the West that are going to grow up and be the very same people that the passport bros don't want to deal with and feel aren't suitable and all these kind of things. Instead of them focusing on their own community, the answer is to just vacate. You know, and I can't see how that's going to solve the problem. People perish for a lack of knowledge. You can't run from the problem. You can't run from the problem. It's only a matter of time before you get confronted with it again. You know, continental Africans that moved to the West thinking that they, you know, they're going to make their dreams come true, and then started getting introduced to a whole host of new problems. You can't run from the problem. You know, the problem is we refuse to solve our own problems. We rely on the government. We rely on God. We rely on, you know, karma. We rely on everything except this, and this. We don't want to rely on these two things. And a lot of our problems could easily be solved if we decided to activate this. You know, some of you guys just find me so unique and, you know, so motivating, and you're just like, wow, this girl is just fearless. I mean, it really boils down to this and this. That's it. The ideas come in the head, or the solutions are formulated, and then the hands bring that thing to life. That's all I do. And the fact that I'm vastly different because I do that is very, very, extremely shameful. It's terrible. It's terrible. Instead of you promoting your kids to go to school and get all this, you know, erroneous degrees and all this kind of stuff, why don't you promote them to start using this and this? Huh? Why don't you promote them to look for problems that they can solve and solve them? When they come to you and say, oh my God, mom and dad, I got this situation going on, do you ask them, okay, well, what's your proposed, you know, solution for this? Big shout outs. What's up, Janelle? Thanks so much for the love. Janelle been cashing me out lately. Thanks, man. Super chat love in the building. Because we got to just be real, guys. I mean, we have millions of our people worldwide. And the fact that we still refuse to get it together is, you know, there's only a certain point we can keep blaming these people on the external. We know they're responsible for a lot of things that have impacted us. We do know. But again, if your focus is on this and this, then it doesn't really matter what the other people are doing to you sometimes, because you can find ways around the circumstances that are confronting you. You know, you can use tools that perhaps you have access to in those settings and make them work for you. I realized a long time ago, you know, my early 20s, I think I tell you guys a story of when I was in JP Morgan Chase. Okay, that's where I used to work professionally in Columbus, Ohio. All right. And I remember I was actually, before Chase, I had applied for Kroger. So this was before. Okay, so I'll just give you guys a long and short of the story. So obviously I went to the University of Cincinnati. Big shout outs to all my Bearcat viewers. I know some of my, you know, classmates from UC watch me. So big shout outs to you guys. UC. Okay. And basically, I was in Cincinnati, and I really didn't want to move back to Columbus because I liked being away from, you know, my family kind of. I wanted to have my freedom, you know, because I had to answer to my parents when I was in Columbus. So obviously I was a young person just wanted to chill, have my privacy, have my own apartment, whatever. At one point, I was working 3 different jobs because all the full-time jobs I would go for in Cincinnati, they would just pass me up. I would go to the interviews, I would like kill the interviews, and then I wouldn't hear back, and I'd be emailing them, and they would say, oh, we haven't heard from the HR department. We'll get back in touch with you, this and that. I'd go online, and I'd see that the position was still open. It'd been open for months, and and I'm like, what is going on here? So eventually, I really had wanted to get this job at the Kroger headquarters down in, right in over the Rhine in Cincinnati. Shout out to anybody who knows what I'm talking about, the Kroger headquarters. I assume it's still there. I haven't been to Cincinnati in a very long time. And it was so convenient because I had just got a new, a remodeled apartment at the Findlay Market. And I could literally walk right from my house to where the Kroger building was. And I was like, this is going to be perfect. The YMCA was in my neighborhood, which is where I was training at. So I could live a pedestrian life in Cincinnati, which I'm all about the pedestrian life. So I was like, I wanted this job, and I just knew I could do this job at Kroger. Went, interviewed. When I got there, they kind of looked me up and down, these white folks, and I was like, oh, here we go. So eventually I had to move back to Columbus, because I couldn't manage the 3 part-time jobs, and I just wanted to have one full-time job, Monday through Friday, do my thing. And that's when it dawned on me that, how exactly am I supposed to get up? When I have followed the blueprint, I went to school, I have this degree, I'm professional, I'm, reliable, I'm very tenacious in the business world. What other things do I need? And I realized at that point that this is how it's always going to be as long as I'm here. And all the memories flooded back to me of hearing my mom talking with her colleagues from work about similar situations. And some of my other friends who were graduates and also looking for careers at Procter & Gamble and Cintas and some of the big companies in Cincinnati going through similar things. And I thought to myself, this is how it's going to be. And as I began to travel, because I thought, well, at first I started traveling throughout the States, and I was seeing, wow, it's kind of the same dynamic no matter where you go. So I said, well, let me start going internationally. And that's where I realized that blue passport, for instance, would give me more preferential treatment outside of the US than inside the US. So this is an example of how you can use some of the tools to your benefit. Also creating some kind of income for yourself. You can live better abroad as you can earn that British pound or that American dollar. You can live better abroad than perhaps in America. You can afford more and stuff because of currency exchange and all those kind of things. You can have options to do things in some foreign lands, especially here on the continent, that you can't do anywhere in the West. And that's what I'm saying, guys. We perish for a lack of knowledge. It's high time that we stop choosing to remain ignorant to the problems and start using our hands and our head to solve our own problems. Some of the problems we continue to harp about, that we've been harping about for centuries in these foreign lands, could easily be solved if we stopped all the harping and started the head and hand work to change them. Instead of us bowing down and just accepting it as a normal part of life, us developing strategy. Big shout out to Kimla there. S&P, our mission statement: strategy, maturity, and patience. Saying, I'm not going to take this anymore. I made a decision a long time ago. I'm not going to be outdone by these people. These people have created stereotypes for me and my people. They've said what I'll do in my whole entire lifetime, where I'll start, where I'll finish. And the design for us in these societies and largely in the entire world is for us to stay where we are in our particular class. There will be some outliers that manage to, break out of the mold. But the design is to keep the majority of people where they are. Let you escalate a couple points up, but that's it. You have to consciously choose not to perish. You've got to choose not to be ignorant anymore. You've got to start critically thinking and analyzing and putting the pieces together. Do you think that it's a coincidence that these billionaires are entrepreneurs? Do you not see that you've been groomed and promoted to be an employee, where entrepreneurship, if it wasn't like introduced to you and your families, or maybe if you're growing up here on the continent, it was never formally presented to you as a way to make means. Actually, when I was growing up in Ohio, if you didn't have a job, people would kind of frown on you. If you told them you were trying to hustle and start your own business, I remember ignorantly, I remember a couple teenagers that you would say, well, what do you do? What are you into for summers and stuff? Oh, I cut grass. I help my dad at this and that, his own business. And you would kind of frown like, that guy's not really serious. Or people say, well, I'm a rapper. I'm trying to start my own, little company. And you'd be like, yeah. If a person didn't physically work at an establishment, people wouldn't take them seriously. Trades were not promoted. Trades were seen as like what the bad kids did, or what the stupid people did that couldn't get into colleges. They deliberately discouraged the one thing that would actually give us freedom and potentially give us transferable skills in the international community. They discouraged that to give us papers that we can't even quantify. A lot of you guys have degrees and stuff. You're not working in your field. A lot of you taking out student loans. You have all this money that, you've tied up in your education, and it's become a liability and not an asset. But that's what they wanted. It's time to start questioning, looking at the people that live potentially the life that you want, and seeing that, okay, the decisions that they are making, or the path that they're making, is different than the path that I have been groomed to be on. And that's why I'm going this way and they're going that way. I told this gentleman I had a conversation with last night, I said, do you realize that the more self-sufficient you are as an individual, the less religious you tend to be? He said he didn't understand. I said, you see how in the third world or in poverty, environments, people are extremely religious. They need hope to survive because they don't have the means. They're not self-sufficient. But when you don't have to pray for a meal because you can either cook a meal or go shopping at the grocery store or go have a meal out or order takeaway. When you don't have to pray for a pair of shoes because you have the means to get your own shoes or whatever. You see, self-sufficiency is at the root of freedom. Do you realize that in school, they don't teach us how to cook food? They don't teach us how to grow food. They don't teach us parenting skills or anything about birth. Anything that is extremely valuable for us to know, we never learned. We learned how to be employees and we learned how to be consumers. Our people are perishing for a lack of knowledge. Okay? The knowledge is that we don't actually need them to survive. The knowledge is they don't have infinite wisdom to govern our lives. And I realized, I had a conversation on the previous video I posted. Shout outs to S.A. Smith. S.A. Smith said, I grew up among white people just like you, Gina, which is true. I went to a private school primarily. And I think when you're in close proximity of these people, you see how ordinary they are. And you see that there's nothing different about them from you. And you realize that you're subject to, you deserve all the same things that they deserve. And I think sometimes maybe here on the continent, because people don't grow up among them, they kind of pedestalize them. And obviously they see them on TV and, they see them to be really successful and rich and all these kind of things, and they learn about their history, about their exploits, and they're conquering these, so they put them up on a pedestal, and they have very little real interaction with them to know the reality. So I think the moral of this story is it's time to stop being ignorant. It's time to start critically thinking and connecting the dots. Looking at the reality of the world and paralleling it with the path that you have been designated to be on. Certainly, if I was on the path that I was designated to be on, I would absolutely still be back in Columbus, Ohio, my hometown. I would probably still be working, these same kind of jobs I was working, bank jobs, insurance jobs, blah, blah, doing the hamster wheel. The identity of the African superstar never coming to the surface, mentally taxed, unhappy, not even able to uncover where the source of my unhappiness is coming from. Because that is what we are groomed to do. The only thing that the state needs and the government needs and America needs from you is for you to keep generating those taxes. That's what you basically translate in. Whatever else you contribute to society is really not their interest unless your contributions get so large, and then that's when they want to capitalize on you. That's when you're going to get offered the record deal. That's when they're going to be scouting you for the NBA or the NFL. That's when they're going to want to buy the patent for your invention and all that stuff. So essentially, the whole course of your life is not even valued to the places that you're living. It's time that it's valued to you. Put all your energy into this. Sit down with your problems. Sit down with your dreams and start activating what you have. For those of you guys that are deeply, deeply religious and still kind of under that, cloud, I would say, your Bible tells you that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. It tells you that you have dominion over the earth. That you're the head and not the tail, above and not beneath, and all these things, the first and not the last. If all these things are true, then you should be living a victorious life. And you living this subjected life is not victorious. Something got to give. Your Bible also tells you that faith without works is dead. So that means until you start applying this, nothing will come from your hopes and wishes and prayers and tithes. That's what it is. Don't let somebody sell you a dream about an afterlife that you can't even actually verify when you have a physical life that you are squandering and wasting. So these are my thoughts and opinions today. I was having a myriad of thoughts about it's unfortunate how our people contribute to their own demise and they don't realize it, because I don't think probably a lot of people are really analyzing things. Is it crazy that we are, for us to promote ourselves, it seems like a criminal thing, but for anybody else, it's okay? What is so fearful to the world about Black people having their own semblance and unity? What is so disturbing about that? Why are they against that so much? That should let you know right then and there that there's something to it. No other ethnicity is promoted to integrate. No other ethnicity is promoted to be dependent on foreign countries and all this stuff, guys. Think about it. No other country speaks foreign languages more than they speak their indigenous languages, or practices foreign religions more than they practice their own indigenous religions. This message ain't for everybody. It's for the people that are going to understand what I'm saying. People perish for a lack of knowledge, especially Black people. Learn from the past. Learn from the past. The past is teaching you a lot of important lessons. If you don't want to learn the lessons, then you will perish. It's very simple. I saw a picture today of there's a popular Ghanaian footballer who was affected by the earthquake in Turkey, apparently. He was living in Turkey. I believe he plays for the Turkish football clubs, or I'm not sure, but he's married to a white woman. He has 2 mixed race kids that live in England. And I actually did a video with his thumbnail many, like probably over a year ago, and not even knowing who it was. I just found a picture of this couple. And, the man in the picture, Atsu is holding his mixed race son. And to me, it's just like, can you not see how you're going into the future? Like, this is your son. He looks absolutely nothing like you. He looks like a white child. And you're okay with that. And you're parading it and you think it's great. And in reality, you're watching your family lines be diluted. You're watching your people become obsolete. You're watching yourself be eliminated. And you're actually participating in it and thinking that you're doing something good. You think you're escalating. You think you paved the way for your kids. Guys, the gig is up. Unless you want to survive. If you want to survive, if you want to plant your seed in the future, then that has to be a strategic thing. If you already have seed, it's imperative that you are imputing the right things in that seed. Otherwise, it wouldn't be beneficiary. Simple as that. Because we have so many Oreos walking around here. And they have no idea who they are or what to do with life. Which is why it's so easy for them to get attached to religion and get attached to the British life, and they want to live here, they want to go abroad, because there's no actual identity there of who they are as a person. So they're trying to attach themselves to all these other things, thinking, okay, well, let me give that a go. Okay, well, maybe this is who I am. Well, somebody said I remind them of this, so that's what I'm going to do. People perish for a lack of knowledge. Don't expect anybody to give you the knowledge, especially not your enemies. Don't expect anybody to empower you. Facts. Very true. Black men. Look at the image of powerful Black men throughout history. All of them were Black men. Most of them dark Black men. All those mixed race kids you guys are making, they're not, the greatest of all time, boxer. They're not the prolific, leader. They're not the all-star athlete. You guys are giving out your skills. You're giving out your melanin. You're giving out your lineage to people that really don't deserve it. The person who deserves it, your counterparts, you're not even interested in them. So these are the thoughts and opinions of the African superstar. I want it to be thought-provoking because I realize just how, extremely brainwashed our people are from coast to coast, now living in 3 countries and interacting with the diaspora in those dynamics, and realizing no matter where they're planted, they're still very confused about self, even if they're here on the continent. The reason people here on the continent are confused about themselves is because there has been strategic colonization of their education and religion, and there has not been an indigenous promotion. The people have not said, no, we're going to reject these ideas. Why should they have more prevalence? Why should this? Why should that? Even some places here in Ghana, they charge US dollars for property and goods when the currency is the CDs. Why Ghanaians have to reject that stuff? We have to reject that stuff and say, no, I'm not paying US dollars when I don't earn US dollars here. All these kind of practices is going to outsource or displace, rather, local Ghanaian people. And I wonder what the climate's going to be like in 20 years here, because unless Ghanaians and the Ghanaian diaspora or the diaspora at large gets a foothold here on the continent, all of these outsiders will occupy. That's what they do. America's a prime example. When those Europeans came to America, it was totally inhabited with Native Americans, and now there's no more. You see, they come in like a thief in the night. Okay, and you guys think they're your friends, and you think you're their lovers, and you think they're your business partners, and next thing you know, they're in and you're out. And that's as simple as it is. There's no middle ground in this world, guys. I wish somebody would have told me when I was young, Gina, there's no middle. There's black and white. It's you or them. That's it. You know, this is our homeland. If we don't have a presence here on this homeland, if we don't keep our footing in this homeland, that's it for us, guys. There's no other place in the world we can have refuge. There's no other place in the world we can go and not endure racism. You know, there's no other place in the world where we can go and we're part of the majority. These are valuable assets that we should be interested in preserving. But people perish for a lack of knowledge, which is why I spend my time trying to enlighten people so that they wouldn't be and remain ignorant. Because again, if you are not pro, you are con. If you are not for solving it, you are against solving it. And the other age-old saying, if you know better, you do better. Shame on those of you guys that come here and watch me week after week. Shame, shame, shame when you know what I'm saying is right and you do nothing and you say nothing and you keep your head down and you keep on just going with it because you, oh yeah, I just need to. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you for coming on this channel and siphoning my energy when you lack the courage to do anything in your personal life. You won't survive. You won't survive. I'll be surviving, but you won't. I'll make it, but you won't. You guys didn't learn from the 2020 lockdowns? Y'all didn't see how they just restrict your movement, you know, put you on curfews. Some places in the US, they brought the National Guard out, stopped all air travel, borders was shut. Y'all didn't learn. You ain't ever think about, well, what do I do? You know, because that was a wake-up call for me when I was in the UK and all the borders got shut. And I thought to myself, oh my God, you know, I can't even get to, I wasn't worried about getting to America. I was worried about getting to Africa. And I was like, damn, I mean, technically there's a way to go by land if you're in Europe to get to the continent. But if you're in America and they shut down the borders, what will you do? What will you do? People perish for a lack of knowledge, especially our people. Our people refuse to be proactive, despite all of the things we've seen happening and occurring to our people in the past. We refuse to say, okay, no, I'm going to have some strategy to not be also become a victim of these various things. You know, I realize living in America, I have a much higher probability of getting involved in some BS. And BS is a broad term, okay? Because a lot of nonsense is happening over there, a lot. So my probability of getting involved in so many different things is higher just by being there, just by you being there, just by your kids going to school every day. You're at a heightened risk. And you're sitting there acting like nothing, you know, it's all good. Well, it's going to be the way it's always been. Well, you can take that gamble if you want. You already just experienced what went down. Like I said, 2020 wasn't an eye-opening experience for you. I don't know what will be, you know? So this was my message today. Big shout outs to the family. I do need to give you a message from our sponsors. Hello, what's up? Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only African superstar proudly presents the release of her first EP entitled For Every Action, There Is a Reaction. as well as this music video, which is available here on YouTube for the title track. The track is also available for streaming on all download platforms, and the EP is exclusively available for purchase at bandcamp.com. Please support independent artists, and please support your African superstar. Until we meet again. Big shout outs. Thanks, family. Yeah, so that's a message from our sponsor, the African Superstar. Hello. Please make sure you cop the new EP. Also, you can follow me on all streaming sites. So if you have Spotify, Apple Music, all you got to do is just add me to your, just go and follow me. That's how you can, show some support, get those stream numbers up. Thanks, Nicole Mature, for that super chat. Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about today. Our people are, in many cases, in my opinion, willfully ignorant because they see that the situation is dire, yet they just keep bumping along on a log. And I mean, we've had, I'd say in this last 5 years, we have just had countless reminders about how we are received in many foreign countries. There was the Africans getting, evicted during the COVID lockdowns in China. There were the Africans being refused to, evacuate when Ukraine and Russia, had their conflicts. I mean, all this kind of stuff, the ongoing racism and police brutality in America. Guys, especially those with children or those of you that want to have families, please do not be ignorant. Do not feign ignorance when this thing is so serious, because I really wish at times I would have had someone have the profound conversation with me about many things in life, because I'm not stubborn like y'all. So I would have loved to hear someone give me some avant-garde advice. We're in a position to give that to our young people in the next generation, and a lot of y'all slacking. I can't get in the box with y'all because I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Okay, I'm playing my part, damn it. I'm not going to take that responsibility. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, but I don't know if y'all doing what y'all supposed to do. I'm going to tell you guys this story, and then I'm going to wrap up. Shout outs to the African Superstar family. Let me just do some quick shout outs. It's been, I didn't even shout y'all out today. My bad. I had a lot to say. What's up, Brown Coat Blue in the building? ATM Tim. I have one little small story, and then I got to go. Guess what, guys? Anita's taking me out for ice cream tonight. Yeah. Me and Eternal Blossom. She got me because she's been neglecting me lately. She's been very busy. And one thing you need to know is I like ice cream, milkshakes. So she was like, yeah, I'm going to treat you for ice cream. It was an offer I can't refuse. So she just texted me saying she almost ready. So I'm like, okay, I got to wrap up. ATM Tim. What's up, family? Kamisha Ross Corner. It's good to see you, girl. It's been a minute. Hi, family. What's up? Naturally Shy in the building. What's up? I see you, Cam. How you doing? What's up? Superstar Bella's in the building with us today. Everything is politics. I see you guys. I'm just rolling through because I'm about to finish this live stream and go get some ice cream. What's up, Kimla? Is this my girl, Susan? If this is you, then I hit you on Telegram. My number's still the same. Okay, anyway, I'll text you again. That's my homegirl, Susan. I'll text you again. What's up, Kofi? Big shout outs to the family. Absolutely love this point from Superstar Bella. Black men, you should be protecting your melanin. Sorry. You should not just be giving it to these people. They got ulterior motives, and y'all be giving it to them anyway. Stop being so cheap. Okay? Black men, let me holler at you real quick. Don't you see how a lot of your brothers be getting got by these women? Don't you see how a lot of them have to give up their fortunes? They be paying child support to these women. These women be making them, hitting them with the allegations. They're with you because they want the money. No different than the passport bros. Stop giving your melanin out all over the place. Stop being cheap. It's valuable. It's special. Your seeds could be something in life. Don't allow them to capitalize off you. Stop. All these prolific Black men just giving their seeds all over the place. Big shout out to Superstar Bella in the room. Yes. Big shout outs to Janelle. She said, I'm teaching my son what you got to do. That's what all of us would do. If our parents would have taught us, we'd be in a better position. But now that we're in this position, we need to pay it forward. You know, does Janelle want her son to be an Oreo? Probably not. Does she want him to be become a transgender someone? Absolutely not. Does she want him to be part of the homosexual community? No. She wants him to grow up and be a strong Black man. I know, without even having a conversation with her, I know that's what she has intended for her son. She needs to give him the seeds, and his father needs to give him the seeds, or whoever is mentoring him, so that he has the tools necessary to be that man. You know, we throw our kids to the wind. We allow them to spend all this time being educated by our enemies, and then we just hope somehow they're going to poof magically turn into, this strong Black man or this lovely, lovely, submissive Black woman. No, it takes rearing. Okay, it takes parenting, it takes influence, and it also is inclusive of the environment you're in, because you are limited. You're not with your child 24 hours a day. Your child is going to school, your child is watching TV and listening to music, and they have friends. They're getting influenced by the environment as well. You know, we need to be taking all that stuff into consideration, that our kids are our legacy. All right, I need to wrap this up and tell y'all this one little story before I roll out. Big shout outs. What's up? Bam. That's it. Janelle's all the way about it. She homeschools her son. I don't have children, Janelle, but I think I've come to the conclusion that that's what it is, because I don't trust this education out here. Sorry. And I know, obviously, a lot of people are like, well, Gina, I work and it's not, I can't, I understand that it takes a sacrifice and, whatever. And obviously, society is not groomed for us to be able to homeschool our children. But I would say for those of you that are able to do it or whatever, it's imperative, because then you know what's going in. You know what's going into your child because you're putting it in there. You can see, oh, well, she needs a little bit extra help with the math, or she's really good in science. Let me cultivate this interest. Or you can also teach them trades, huh? You can teach them how to cook and sew and change tires and things that they really actually need to know. You can teach them financial literacy, all the stuff that you felt was lacking, okay? The stuff you wish you would have got from school, the conversations you wish people would have had with you. You have full autonomy over that when you are your child's educator. Ultimately, we can get schools that are more aligned with the curriculums that our children need. But in the meantime, this is a great way to take control of what the children are learning. So I'm with you, Janelle, because that's I think about it sometimes, because these dudes I be dating, they bring it up, and I'll be like, I think about me as a mother, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think that these systems, no matter where I've been, are suffice. I really don't. I don't mind taking the kids for like some extracurricular stuff, like, okay, I enroll you in the basketball team, or, you go to the cheerleading. So, they can meet students their age and stuff. But in terms of them going to school and these people teaching my kids, I don't know about that. And if I find out somebody's bullying my kid, I might roll up there and fight somebody my damn self. So it's better for me. I think that this is a great option. Anyway, the story I want to tell y'all, and I'm wrapping up, shout outs to the family. Please make sure you guys like the streams. So I was having a conversation with a very good friend of mine who is a Nigerian American that grew up in New York. And we were talking about when we were in high school, how the military would come and recruit, students. And during that time, obviously, I'm the class of 2001. So I graduated from Fort Hayes in 2001. And at that time, there had not been much military action, I guess, for several years. Bill Clinton had been in office, and there was like no military action. So the recruiters used to come to the school and they used to try to, butter you up and say, oh yeah, you can enroll with us and you'll get your school paid for. And, they used to talk down the whole possibility of you having to do any military service. They just used to make it seem like, oh yes, the benefits and all this kind of stuff. So my friend said he remembered going to this local ROTC office in New York where he was living. And he was in college at the time, but, he was still considering enlisting. So he says he goes into the office and, these recruiters, obviously, they're very charismatic. Some of you guys might be recruiters for the service. And they're very dynamic and they're like, yeah, you can do this and you can do that. And, depending on whatever you are hoping to achieve, they got to spend. So he said when he went in there, he said he told them he wanted to travel the world. And they pulled out this big photo book of all these servicemen. Wow, they were in Thailand and these guys went to Brazil. And, you'll see the world if you come and join with us. So he said during the same time, he noticed this older black man outside the window on the street waving profusely at him. And he said, the spiel went on probably like 30, 45 minutes. They were giving him the whole thing, gave him some brochures, and he came out. And this older man was still there, and it had been raining, and the older man was still there waiting for him. And he said, look, I just want to tell you, do not do it. He said, I'm a veteran of the Vietnam War. He was like, a lot of my peers are homeless. A lot of my peers are on drugs. And he said, they'll use everything they can from you. But when you're no longer valuable to them, they won't take care of you. And he said, I saw you in there. And he said, I enlisted right after high school. And I did was in there for several decades. And look at me, and I just want to have this conversation. And so, and I am, give or take, I'm paraphrasing because it was quite a long conversation we had. But it was very, very, very profound to me. Because it was a testament to the paying it forward. How profound is it if you were, for instance, getting ready to head into the military and you had this conversation with a veteran that's saying, hey, look, I've been where you are heading and I would tell you, don't do it. You know what I mean? And it was just, it is a testament to what I'm having a conversation with you today about learning from those that have gone before us, strategically ordering our steps to have a different outcome than those that have gone before us, experiencing the challenges that those of us that have gone before us have gone through and taking a different path. For many of us, the one thing or the only thing that our parents and family and friends never entertained was getting out of that environment and investigating the continent. In my opinion, that was the first place I needed to start. Because whatever other options we have tried and we have exercised and all that stuff in the West still was not giving us the results that we wanted. It's time to change course. And I was willing to get dramatic with it. Because I just did not want my life to be the same as those that preceded me. I didn't want to be begging for justice my entire life. I didn't want to be having to kiss the ass my whole life. I didn't want my dreams to be snuffed out and all of that. And I worked much worse. I did not want to perpetuate the same cycle again by giving birth and raising my kids in America when I know what is at stake. And even the environment in that place right now is even worse than when I was a child growing up in America. The violence is even worse. The racism is even worse. The police brutality is even worse. The bullying is even worse. Bullying is, bullies used to just talk stuff back in my days. Sometimes they would pick on the kids, but I mean, I never ever heard a story in my whole time of being in high school or anything of a bully killing any student. Bullying, it was kind of more like teasing, I'd say. The bullying that is nowadays is extreme. With online, it's even worse because they can put embarrassing stuff online. And kids will be kids. They can post stuff on Facebook or Snapchat. And, a moment that teenagers would have forgotten a week or two gets broadcast to the whole world. And, the internet never forgets. So the children are having significantly more extreme conditions they're growing up in, yet we as adults, their parents and guardians, are failing to protect them from this stuff, failing to give them the advantage, failing to give them the leg up that they need. Big shout out to Aphrodisiac Villas and Spas. Man, you cashed me out today. Thank you. It's unacceptable. And we can keep on blaming our adversaries, but we don't want to take any responsibility. Let me tell you something. If your child is in that situation and you as their parents or guardian is not doing anything to prepare them in this world, to protect them from this stuff, you think all that stuff they go through as kids is not affecting their psychological well-being? Do you think them being called monkeys or darky or go back to Africa or you're weird and all this stuff, it doesn't affect your child? You are subjecting your child to that for what reason? You're sending them to school where, these young people, you don't know if they're armed, you don't know their mental well-being, that they might come in there with guns and stuff now. So anyway, look, I gotta go. This conversation is rich, but I gotta go. For those of you that have just got in here, please do watch the playback. Anita's blowing up my phone, so I gotta go now because I'm about to go get some ice cream, huh? Yes. So big shout outs to the African Superstar family. Much love to the family. And thanks for the super chats. Thank you so much. I'm glad this topic was well received. For those of you guys that watch the playback, please leave your comments. And I did see this video, man. We'll have to touch back on this again in the future. There is a viral video that just happened last week of a young Black girl in the UK basically being jumped by all these white students, parents. I don't even know who was doing the assault, but it was literally like 3 or 4 students to one Black person, and the adults were just there. And some of the adults were promoting, inciting it and, things like that. It's very crazy. So, all this stuff we subject our kids to, and we want to act like it's better education. We want to act like that environment's better. You think being the only Black kid in their school is better? You think that's nice? Meanwhile, the zebras roll with all the other zebras. The elephants roll with all the other elephants. You want to put the zebra with the flamingos for your own, edification. It's not fair, and it's not good, and it's about time somebody says it. So anyway, family, I gotta roll. Until we meet again, stay Black and true. If you ain't Black, just stay true. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only African Superstar proudly presents the release of her first EP entitled For Every Action, There Is a Reaction, as well as this music video, which is available here on YouTube for the title track. The track is also available for streaming on all download platforms, and the EP is exclusively available for purchase at bandcamp.com. Please support independent artists, and please support your African Superstar. Until we meet again.